In 1981, in the early morning hours on Halloween Day, Tadia Benz was found lifeless in her second-story apartment. Tadia was a 76-year-old nun living in a convent in Amarillo, Texas. She had been essayed, beaten, and even stabbed. The police quickly narrowed down their search to 17-year-old Johnny Frank Garrett, who lived right across the street. Garrett had a trial and would be found guilty. He was sentenced to death. On February 11, 1992, Garrett was executed at only age 28. His last meal was ice cream. And although some websites say that he didn't want to give a last statement, it is reported that his final words were, "I'd like to thank my family for loving me and taking care of me. The rest of the world can kiss my ever-loving ass." In 2010, 16-year-old Devon Griffin had come home after trick-or-treating with his friends. He went and started to play video games, but he noticed that the home was really quiet. He eventually got curious and began to walk around looking for his family. He would find his father, mother, and older brother dead. It took him a minute to realize that this wasn't a prank. He thought that this was a Halloween prank that the family was doing to him. He then realized the horror of the situation. His stepbrother, William Liskey, had attacked all three of them, and they all succumbed to their wounds. It would be detailed later that William suffered from schizophrenia, having constant outbursts and getting physical with his family. The police would soon arrest him at his family's cabin. William would plead guilty and would be sentenced to 3 life sentences in prison. But in March of 2015, correctional officers would find him dead in his cell from a self-inflicted injury. In 1944, Ronald Clark O'Brien lived with his wife, Deneen, in Deer Park, Texas, with their son Timothy and their daughter Elizabeth. O'Brien worked at Texas State Optical. He also was a deacon in his Baptist church where he sang in the choir. But on October 31st, 1974, their picture-perfect family life would come to a halt. O'Brien took his 2 children trick-or-treating. After visiting a home that the occupant failed to answer the door, the children grew impatient and ran ahead of their dad. O'Brien eventually caught up with them and handed each of his children pixie sticks. When they were done with trick-or-treating, they went home and the children asked if they could have some of the candy. Their dad said yes, and their son Timothy had decided that he was going to eat the pixie sticks. Within minutes, the boy started to complain that his stomach hurt, and he started getting physically ill. They rushed him to the car and drove as fast as they could to the hospital, but unfortunately, Timothy did not make it. The police did heavy investigation work, and the doctors did an autopsy to see what had happened to Timothy. They had concluded that Timothy had a large amount of cyanide and was poisoned to death. Soon the puzzle would all fit perfectly. The family was struggling with money issues, and their father had decided to take 2 life insurance policies out on the children. When he was standing at the house with no one in it, he took out his pixie sticks and gave them to his children. And unfortunately, Timothy chose that to eat that night. O'Brien was arrested on November 5th, 1974. He entered a plea of not guilty on all 5 charges. And on June 3rd, 1975, a jury took 46 minutes to find O'Brien guilty of capital murder and 4 counts of attempted murder. The same jury took 71 minutes to sentence him to death. Shortly after he was convicted, his wife filed for divorce. She would later remarry, and her new husband adopted her daughter, Elizabeth. On the day of his execution, his last meal was T-bone steak, French fries and ketchup, whole kernel corn, sweet peas, lettuce, and tomato salad with egg, French dressing, iced tea, sweetener, saltines, Boston cream pie, and rolls. His last words were, "What is about to transpire in a few moments is wrong. We as human beings do make mistakes and errors. This execution is one of those wrongs, yet doesn't mean our whole system of justice is wrong. Therefore, I would forgive all who have taken part in any way in my death. Also, to anyone I have offended in any way during my 39 years, I pray and ask your forgiveness, just as I forgive anyone who offended me in any way. And I pray and ask God's forgiveness for all of us respectfully as human beings. To my loved ones, I extend my undying love. To those close to me, know in your hearts I love you, one and all. God bless you all, and may God's best blessings be always yours. At the time of his execution, a crowd of 300 demonstrators gathered outside the prison and cheered while some yelled, "Trick or treat."